cake frosting. This is the frosting that you use to smooth on top of the cake or the sides or on cupcake. I have a different recipe. It's very similar, but it's still a little different, that I use to pipe the decorations onto your cake or cupcake. Anyways, this is 2 pounds of powdered sugar. To this, I want to add a half teaspoon of cream of tartar and a pinch of salt. I'll just mix it in. All right, I'm going to continue sifting this. All right, I'm going to add 1 1/4 cup of shortening, the Crisco brand of shortening, because it's pure white. Now the nice thing about this recipe is, you know, in the heat of the tropics or in the south or wherever it's, you know, greater than 70 odd degrees, it's not going to melt. Number one. Number two, it colors very well. You should still use good quality icing or frosting coloring agent, a gel, not the gel you pick up at a grocery store. Okay, and then there's paste, and then there's the powdered, and then there's a liquid food drop, so go with the gel. So 1, it doesn't melt. 2, it colors very well, and 3, you can make it ahead. And 4, it smooths very nicely on a cake. And you can watch one of my other videos was how to smooth a cake top. At any rate, so for a KitchenAid stand mixer, it's 2 boxes of powdered sugar, 1 1/4 cups of Crisco, but because I'm going to use a handheld mixer, I need to add a little more Crisco, and that's just an extra tablespoon. Okay, I'll have the different measurements for your different mode of mixing this icing in the description link below the video. Okay, and then we've got a 1/2 cup plus 1 tablespoon of water for the KitchenAid stand mixer, but if you're using a handheld mixer, add an extra tablespoon of water. Okay, it does make a difference. The handheld mixer is not as strong as a KitchenAid stand mixer. I got this original recipe from my mom, but I added a little bit more of the Crisco in the water so that it spreads easily, more easily. In another video, I made the icing, the cake icing that you use for piped decoration. Okay, this one is really soft and it spreads much better on a cake. The other video, the ratio of Crisco and water is slightly less so that the pipe decorations will hold up better. I'm just going to grab the dried sugar, the powdered sugar on the side of the bowl. In a KitchenAid mixer, you can double the recipe using 4 pounds of powdered sugar. And if I had to do that on a lot of cakes to decorate, or I wanted to make a lot of icing ahead of time, I would, but I'm just doing a video. So this icing is going to go in the freezer. It freezes very well. You just have to kind of scrape along the edges of the container that you're freezing the icing in to get out the crystallized sugar. Otherwise, the rest of the icing is just fine. And that's it. I mean, this is done. It's sweet, but not the sweetest. And once you apply it on the cake, it tastes very, very good. So, you know, when you apply icing to the cake top or the sides, I like to do just about an 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I'm just going to put this frosting into a container for later use. Although I haven't decorated cakes and cupcakes in forever. So we'll see when this gets used. Now, when you're using a KitchenAid mixer, it's going to incorporate a lot more air than a hand mixer. So all you're going to have to do just before you use this, if you use it the same day, you're just going to have to, you know, smear it around in the bowl you mixed it in to get some of those air bubbles out. If you're going to freeze it, and I showed this to you in the video on making the decorating or the icing for pipe decoration. You need to seal the surface of this with some plastic wrap. If air gets to it, it will dry out. So that's another thing I like about this icing is once you've applied the smooth frosting to the cake or cupcake, then you use the decorating recipe to pipe your decorations. And once you're done, you set it aside a couple hours, and it's pretty firm to the touch. So, I mean, you know, if you push on it, it's going to smear or break, but you know, otherwise, if you touch it, it's fine. So it gets a little firm. So you can leave this frosting on the counter if you want to use this tomorrow, if you're making it several days ahead. I've even had this in the freezer for a month, because you never know, you know, when you're going to have a last-minute cake order, right? It's been forever. It's just a lot of work. When you have kids, who has time to do this all the time? Decorate cakes. Fun as it may be, it's time-consuming. Anyway, so I do 2 layers and I go across. Just want to seal as much of that icing in, okay? And when you freeze this, you cover it, right, and you label it. When you take it out at night so that you can use it the next day, okay, leave it covered. And when you're ready to use this, you're going to have to peel the plastic wrap back and use a spoon, because you're going to have some sugar crystallizations along the edges of the container and the icing. You just kind of scoop that out. It's not a big loss, right? And then you can get a rubber spatula and mix the frosting in the container to pop some of those air bubbles. And otherwise it's fine. Nothing's going to happen to the icing that's in the container. It's just along the edges that you have to clean up. Okay. So you cover this, label it, and you're good to go. Put it in the freezer or use it tomorrow.